So the first posture is poorvottanasan or the anterior stretch. For that we'll be keeping the legs straight and placing the hands behind with the thumbs pointing in front and fingers pointing behind with the elbows slightly folded,
and we push the shoulders down and behind so that the chest is opened up, and we constantly get the shoulder blades close to each other. It's important to get the shoulder blades close to each other, otherwise you won't be putting the weight on the right kind of muscles. So we do all those necessary adjustments, and then keeping the knees straight, we breathe in first, and as we breathe out, we lift the hips up such that the knees remain straight, and we stretch the ankles and toes to get the toes to touch the floor. As you lift the hips up, we keep the elbows slightly folded, we push the shoulders down and behind, and we constantly get the shoulder blades close to each other. And in this posture you maintain for 30 seconds with abdominal breathing. Constantly squeezing the shoulder blades close to each other, pushing the shoulders down and behind, keeping the elbows slightly folded, keeping the knees straight and trying to touch the floor with the toes. Keep doing abdominal breathing, otherwise you'll get a cramp. So this is poorvottanasan or the anterior stretch. And then we do the paschimottanasana. For that we have to bring the hips down, but we bring the hips down behind the palms like this. The hips will be behind the palms, so that the front of the buttocks touch the floor and not the tailbone. Now the back is in a very good position to stretch down. And now we do the opposite stretch, that is the posterior stretch. So keeping the toes together, we stretch the ankles and toes towards the body as much as possible. We breathe in, hands go up, breathe out and try to touch the soles of the feet. But when you do that, you simultaneously use the leg muscles to pull the ankles and toes towards you, and then simultaneously press the back of the knees against the floor. You breathe out as you go into the posture. Hold the breath out for 8 seconds. And then breathe in straight. Remember, we have to pull the ankles and toes towards the body using the leg muscles and not using the hands. And we press the back of the knees against the floor. This is the paschimottanasana, or the posterior stretch. And during the poorvottanasan or the anterior stretch, we always remember 3 things. That is, the elbows remain slightly folded, shoulders are down and behind, and the shoulder blades are constantly brought close to each other. So that will ensure that we engage the middle back muscles, okay, and it will ensure that the weight falls on the muscles like the shoulder muscles, the arms and the forearm muscles, instead of the weight falling on the joints. That's the reason why we are doing it on the fingers and not on the palms. So that doesn't affect the wrist joint, but rather the weight falls on the forearms. These 2 postures were the poorvottanasan and the paschimottanasana, the anterior and the posterior stretch. And this is the right method, the right way of approaching your upper body training, because it will develop the muscles that help with good posture. For example, the middle back muscles, which need to be strong and stable for you to keep the posture erect, instead of working on the front of the body, which will just create the rounding of the shoulders and poor posture. Instead of that, we work on the back muscles first, so that the posture becomes perfect, so that it is perfectly erect, just the way nature intended it to be. And then when we develop the upper body through this method, the structure and the function of the human body is not compromised. So that's it for now. I'll see you in my next video. This was yoga practice class number 20.
the poorvottanasan and the poorvottanasan.